Matt, how we doing?
Hey, Matt.
Let's go.
Oh, there's no chairs for the public.
Okay.
Christine, are the financials that you just sent out, are they in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Minutes.
That was really fast.
She was out all week, and so I just got it this morning. Actually, I got it on Saturday, but since I don't work on weekends if I don't have to, I didn't get her. I managed to get it out to you guys. But-
Morning. Hey, morning. I get the good news.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
We need to get.
Is there a restroom down here?
Yes, there are two
Next
of
two
them.
doors. Ooh, okay. Thank you.
Choices. Yeah, choices.
Wow,
on
and
board.
Thursday.
2 weeks.
There's a
I
thing
finally
there
get
for my
to go to
knee.
house.
You were on quarantine?
My son, my kids have been in quarantine a couple times from school. Yeah, his daycare shut down. He was on quarantine for 10 days. We were on daycare shut down for 2 weeks. I'm like,
So you're ready to get out of Dodge.
yeah. Working from home for 2 weeks with a 2-year-old is not the funnest thing.
Those are my favorite memes where they're, you're like trying to do something, there's like a child on your head.
Yes, literally. My earring was like, we were in a meeting and he's in the background. I'm like, I'm not on video for 2 weeks for any of my meetings. I'm like, I can't. He's like, no, turn your video on. I want to see your son. And I'm like, okay, so for an extra half an hour, I have my area manager down in Medford talking to my son over Teams
Aw.
chat. And I'm like, hey, can you guys finish the meeting? I'm good with this.
There's so many options in the bathroom. I was looking for that guy that stands there and offers you everything. Like, I saw the Gojo, my dad was a mechanic, so felt pretty good about that.
This is the camera. Invitation for the swap meeting, 10:30 email today. Okay. Got it figured out. And then let's look at the email. Did you get it?
So when are we gonna go back in person meeting with those?
Good question. We
No
have a-
time soon.
We have a standing reservation over there for the year. And like every month,
I'm
every other
thinking-
month. I think
Mhm.
maybe by July, let's see. Information, maybe by July
Possibly.
or September, probably at the latest.
I think there's a shot at the next one. I think.
They just feel
They're-
so much
they're-
more productive.
Well, and they're starting to open things up.
Yours is
CDC starting to loosen some things up, so.
slightly different.
Well, not Sweat Curry County. Coquille.
Coos.
Coos
Coos.
County. They've been kind of,
They've been with us on the extreme.
we'll see. This is your last meeting, right?
Yes, it is.
You excited? You excited about that or
Yeah,
not so much?
no, I'm excited.
Is this your copy?
Yes, did you want one?
So, I was gonna say, Cheryl, did you give the board the version that you gave me?
Yes.
Okay, that was the better one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You like this one better than that one?
No, whichever one that
It's
Cheryl
the one that
submitted,
has the
I like that one
yes.
better than the one I did.
Oh,
So, there were two, the one I did was like 10 years ago from a handbook that I did for another company. The one that, whatever one she sent in an email saying Ron thinks we should approve something similar to this, that's the one I liked. And they have some similar aspects, but I just liked it. Somebody who took a lot of care who does that for a living drafted that one.
okay.
So, it was fine.
Yeah, they made sure that it met all of the, what is it, SB 479?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right, that thing that I sent you,
Mhm.
I don't know if that was included, but there are certain requirements like government agencies have to provide counseling and certain other requirements, like things. And so just that if you need a minute to talk, before you put that policy in place or as you're doing it, we need to set up some other things.
Happy to hear.
But, and then there, I had, I'm researching one of them, we can talk about it, but one of them was even providing some kind of legal counsel for the individual, but that seems like a conflict. So I gotta look at that requirement and see what the limitations are. Like maybe you have to allow them to speak with somebody who understands this area of law. Because why would you hire somebody who can sue you? Like, that's like getting the guard dog for the person you're trying to break into their house.
Huh.
That's a real example. But
I would say,
I'm saying, like, you don't go get the alarm system for the guy you're trying to get into his house.
Well, the smart bird.
Well, okay, so that's a good point, because that has happened. In law school, we actually studied some cases like that. Well, I was like, it's gonna get rejected.
is it the wind?
Like,
It's the wind.
no, it's a really tall guy that, I'm only 5'9".
This is our dad, Mike.
Anything over 6 foot tall than me.
Hi, Mike.
It is cold out there.
It's just
Yeah,
wet and
the
windy.
sunshine is deceiving, it's not as warm out there as it looks.
It was failing.
It was warmer earlier,
Oh, wow.
that
Oh,
window.
up here, yeah.
You guys have some
No.
hail?
No,
Southern-
Huh?
no.
Did you get hail? Oh,
We didn't get
Yes.
hail, no.
Oh,
You got it, yeah.
It was actually warmer in Little Creek when I left. It was up here. It doesn't have the name on
No, we are gonna go through the budgeting
That's the
process and
March.
include that. Yeah,
in the March.
that would be in our projected budget.
we also think it's ready to go to high school football game in February.
And what?
High school football game.
Oh,
You gotta go to one?
The seasons are going on right now because they couldn't do it in the fall.
Yeah, but
No.
parents aren't allowed into the games.
Yeah, you can say it depends.
South Umpqua has they televise theirs over
Oh, that's cool.
a web post.
Yeah. I think
fly
they're all
around,
doing
watch the
that.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had a game in Glendale last Friday and they had security at their parking lot and parents weren't allowed to pull into the parking lot unless you were on the list.
You weren't allowed to pull in and sit
It
in your
seems kind
car.
of weird
Oh,
since being
wow.
outside.
so the way that South Umpqua did, they actually had a big outdoor
Like a
blow up
jumbotron.
screen, and they let
Yeah.
parents come in, they'd stay in the cars, but they let cars come in the parking
That's a
lot.
great idea.
Yeah.
We're shutting down a road.
Like a drive-in
We have a
movie
gig
theater.
Friday
for
in town.
football.
We're shutting down the road to let people.
It overlooks the field or?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, my daughter was a cheerleader last year and this year she was thinking about it, but they went to online and she graduated in January and they called her and they're like, football's starting and she's like, I'm
I'm an adult.
done with
Yeah.
school. Like,
I have a job.
no, I don't think so.
That's what's weird too. Yeah, my son graduated from Young College, so he spent one semester at Young College where he's getting his diploma, and there's no fanfare, no nothing. Like, are you okay with this? Like, we're just gonna move you on.
Yeah, why not? What's it?
Yeah, Benjamin. Sturdy. He did it all through Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't attend classes or anything. The principal gave him the Odyssey where and was like, have at it.
I'm gonna go.
Well, that's when my daughter started her senior year, she only needed a credit and a half to graduate.
Right,
And
that's-
she did it all within 6 months or actually less than that.
Yeah.
September to January and she was done.
Interrupt, we are after
Sorry.
5:30, it's 5:31. So let's get this meeting called to order. Let's do roll call. Don Parker.
Sarah Thompson?
Lonnie Rainville,
Mike Baker.
Scott Stone.
Jennifer Bragg.
Has anybody heard or talked to Mark?
I don't see him on the screen.
Okay. Jennifer, would you like to lead us in the
Yes.
pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's here now.
Mark. Consent agenda. Everybody had a chance to read through the past few minutes and the financial report.
Well, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Cat moves to approve, Sarah seconds. What?
Not
Mark's
talking.
on
No.
the,
Any discussion over it, any fixes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Public comment for on agenda items only. If anybody in the audience, Matt, or online, have seen and then would like to speak to anything on it, now is your time.
There's some kind of noise going on. I don't know if it's somebody that's not
Looks
muted,
like Kelly.
That's Kelly.
Kelly, if you could mute your,
she's not.
not even connected to audio. I wonder if it's that guy that's talking outside.
Mark, do you have a radio on?
Regular season champ, the second year in a row after beating Oregon State in
Mark's not, or,
Hey, Kevin.
Can you mute
yeah,
him right
Mark's
there?
not muted.
Oregon's long shooting.
Mark, Mark, you are muted. If you need to speak, go ahead and
Turn your radio
dance a
off.
jig or something. First item is moving on to old business, 7.1 medical transportation discussion. Cheryl? Yeah,
I was under the impression you had invited Sean for that conversation.
oh, I invited Sean, but he is not gonna make it here. So we'll scratch that.
Okay, so we did provide a medical transportation update. It's in the packet. And that just gives you an overall of the.
That's not it.
Oh, it's that one.
It was
One that
right-
says medical transportation
Yes.
And it's all blue.
in big letters.
Big. Those two blue ones.
So that does show you the ridership for December, January, and February, and the gross income, the mileage reimbursement, and the net income for the program so far.
For a quarter?
Looks like more and more people are riding.
On the medical transport,
Mm-hmm.
That's
More and more
great.
people are finding out about it, I think.
so beyond that, I had provided an update for you in an email over the course of this last month that just provided you some information about the number of providers and where we fall in that.
And there was like 12 or
12.
something, is what I remember, and we're like, we're not even the cheapest, we're
We're right in the middle.
in the middle.
smack dab.
Yeah.
I'm going to note once again that I have tenants who support themselves doing medical transport. So I have something of a conflict.
Curiosity gets me as to why the ridership was over twice as much in January, but the net income was less. Is that because of fuel costs going up in January?
That's a typo on the net income, I would assume.
No, actually, it's not. It has to do with the, when the reimbursements come in and the number of rides that cost per ride. Sometimes the mileage reimbursement, they go for a pickup and the person cancels at the door. So we still have to pay them for the mileage. So there are just a lot of different factors that fall into that.
It's a
Is it
pretty big
reimbursed?
difference. It doesn't really reflect reality.
Right.
So. Was that more in January or February?
January.
Well, in February, we had more rides than January.
It doesn't look like that many more.
And I don't know that it should be based on a day, rather than totals that come back.
They are. Each check has the week that
Wait.
is covering. Oh. So for each week that we have provided medical transportation, the income is recorded in that week, as well as the reimbursement for the weeks that we've made the reimbursements. So the mileage, the income happens the week before the reimbursement. So they are off by 1 week.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Is UCAN providing, they're providing service again, right, or?
Yes.
And as I recall, it's all up to the brokerage based on your, I don't know if it's like a, yeah,
Performance.
I was thinking what's the, like an Uber score or something on how well you did, or customer service, I guess, and on-time performance and
Yes, that's a portion of it.
all that kind of
yes.
stuff.
Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm happy with it. I think it's a great program. Yeah.
Move on, 7.2, the harassment policy. Did everybody have a chance to look over them? Anybody not have a chance to look over them?
There was some question on some stuff you and Ron were talking about that we might have to do some more work on the board side. I can't remember what that was, but
So
we might have to make some other modifications or changes or.
we're looking into whether or not we're required to provide legal counsel for somebody to have a claim against us.
Well,
So,
wouldn't they want their own legal? I mean, we have legal counsel for the district. Why wouldn't that be? Oh, you mean we'd have to pay for their legal counsel? Yeah.
yeah,
So, right, so
Which is weird.
there's a bulletin that I sent. Anyway, there's this, the state's policies with government agencies is to provide mental health counseling if there's an occurrence, and also legal counsel. So I'm trying to figure out what the limits of that are as far as the legal counsel and the mental health counseling. And so really, I mean, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. You can have somebody who's hired to be here, like an HR specialist that can do counseling. Or the district needs to have somebody to refer to that
Yeah.
understands that we're gonna send employees to you. And so either give that person a retainer, or you just understand we're gonna pay for the first 1 or 2 sessions or 1 session. So I'm trying to figure out what the limitations are there, what the minimums are that you have to provide, and then the board can decide how much they want to provide.
Is this when there's a claim or when the claim is deemed to be valid?
So that's a good question. The thing that I sent, the bulletin that I sent to Cheryl to me, it sounds like when there's a claim that you need to say, okay, we've got these services if you would like to avail yourself of them. And so I think, limitation of it is probably to provide 1, or 2 sessions. For instance, in another realm that I do, like adoptions, the law requires the person adopting a child to pay for 3 counseling sessions for the parent, allowing their
The
child.
biological.
Yeah. And so I think it's similar to that. There's going to be a minimum requirement. I didn't see in the bulletin exactly what that was.
So we don't know, and we can revisit it if after you do some research.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I'm just saying though that the transportation district will have to provide those 2 things. I just don't have a firm answer on what the minimum requirement is.
Okay.
agree.
So I just want you to be aware of that when this goes in. My advice is that we at least contact somebody, or the board contact a counselor or therapist who will agree to take these referrals.
Well, I think you have to offer a variety,
Um,
that they shouldn't have to just go with one. So you should have a pool.
You could, if that's what the board
And
wants to
as I
do.
said, we can discuss that when we get to that.
So that, is that a RFP that we would have to do, or is that small enough purchase that doesn't require that.
I think we might be able to get the
Professional
employee
service.
assistance
I was just gonna
services
ask
to
you.
cover that.
Well, okay.
Because, yeah, a lot of times that there's a selection.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like Umpqua Valley, is it Umpqua Valley? That is over there
Yes.
by the Social Security office, yeah. They have multiple different counselors, so you wouldn't be locked into just one. But that required language is on the last page of the policy that has the red. Uh-huh. And it's just that those last two bullet points. The additional employee support services, employees may choose to use other support services throughout the following instances related to concerns and complaints. An organization provides the following additional assistance, legal services, counseling and support services, and or employee assistance.
Ron,
Yeah,
and you're gonna look into finding out if we have to supply counseling
Yeah.
before anything is even found out to be factual.
right. I'm leaning towards that week that when something is reported, the bulletin that I read states that it needs to be offered, to say, hey, we have this available. If you need to, but because it shouldn't, it's meant not to be dependent on like whether you think your claim is credible.
It's like if somebody
then-
reports to do it
And we're
now.
not buying it, we're not offering it.
They don't
So
want
to
them to have to
protect
wait.
Cheryl when she's in that situation and someone refuses counseling, should she have them sign something saying that this was offered and they didn't accept?
I don't know if.
Because couldn't the employee then say, well, Cheryl didn't
Right.
offer it
That's
to
a
me?
good question.
It's not a bad policy. I don't know that. I think in a mostly charged situation, maybe somebody would refuse to sign anything. But for sure, Cheryl or whoever takes the report needs to
Document.
get minutes and put something in writing. Met with this person, offered this service, they declined it this time or something, right? Or they accepted it and the referral was made.
Paper trail of some sort. I
Yes.
mean, even an ambulance, if you refuse service, they have to do something.
Right. And
I
you know
still
what
think we
might
should
be
ask their
good?
signature.
I do this all the time with other attorneys is after I have a conversation, I send them a confirming email saying, this is what we talked about.
That's a
And
good
so
idea.
that way they don't have to sign anything. And you could just have a policy, an office policy to forward an email and it's confidential. You don't CC anybody else and you say, this is my understanding of our conversation. This is what you said. Please tell me if I got this wrong.
I think a check off list for Cheryl, and she can check the box. I informed them they could, and then there's either a result or there isn't a result.
Okay, so if we've all had a chance to review both of them that are in front of us, this is an actionable item for an adoption of one of these. Of course, I think that the motion should have, the opportunity to revise and as needed.
This also replaces the district employee one as well.
Is that in the
Oh,
handbook?
replaces it?
Yes, it replaces the one in the handbook.
Well, I think all policies are subject to amendment at any time.
I'll make the motion to adopt
Which one?
the harassment policy with the red letters on it to replace the employee handbook harassment policy.
Second.
Jennifer makes motion to adopt the harassment policy titled with red ink, seconded by Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Record retention update 7.3.
So the question that brought this up last time around, and it's been kind of ongoing, is whether or not the board wants to post the Zoom recordings online. And so we wanted to look into the record retention. Of course, the paper copies of the minutes were required to keep indefinitely. As long as we are a government entity, we are required to have those. For the audio visual recording, it's 1 year after the minutes are prepared and approved. And we also looked to Cortec, and that's your second page in this portion of the packet. And Cortec went through and lent their expertise, and their recommendation is in the bottom square down here. The YouTube is by far the easiest. It's the most cost effective and manageable. So we can start posting the Zoom meetings on YouTube. The piece of that we need to amend though is the bylaws. So in the middle of this front page, I cut and pasted the paragraph of the bylaws regarding the minutes. So we really need to update that paragraph, and we also need to add in that we are posting the minutes on the website. That's a requirement for our STIF funding, and it should be in our bylaws. Currently, it just says that we take the minutes and approve them and make them available.
That's on your test.
So for the YouTube one, it says difficulty, and for $5 a month, the difficulty turns to easy.
That's in the cloud.
Yeah, the cloud issue seems good, but I just got a thing from Samsung that all of my cloud documents, photos and everything will be erased at the end of
At the
this
end of the
month.
month, yeah, me too.
So there is an issue with the cloud. Of course, I'm not paying for that cloud, so I don't know what. the
Yeah, now
difference
they
is.
want you to pay.
Oh,
Well,
well, there's no way to save it. It's right now it's saying download your stuff or go without later.
Well, one thing with that, if we do it to YouTube, it's difficult for people to download it, which means they can't download it and edit it and spread it elsewhere, which means we're a little bit more secure with what we have on our website, because people can't easily download it to their computer and manipulate it.
I was thinking the opposite. When I read download, I was thinking difficult to upload, like the time consuming,
No.
but okay, so that's for the people to pull it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this one, I believe we could still take a motion to do YouTube or cloud if we wanted to, and to include the revision in our bylaws.
Are we gonna
I
make a
would suggest
decision?
about 30 days, that would be our time frame. Within 30 days. of
What
our
Should it be
meeting.
after the following minutes are approved? After the minutes from that meeting are approved?
I think it should be live.
I mean, we are live, so anybody that wants to see it can.
But it should be
Once
available,
we.
because we're not gonna
Should the
edit it.
minutes be approved before you upload it to YouTube?
Not
We aren't
necessarily,
going to
because
edit it
anybody
anyway.
can see what we're doing anytime. So having the minutes approved doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You're saying in case there's an edit the next meeting for the minutes being approved, so that it's recorded, it'll still be recorded, it just
Any adjustment in those minutes will be reflected in the next meeting.
at the
And
beginning
they-
of it
and
too,
they'll
so it won't be a
replace-
search.
Yeah, I mean, they won't be. Yeah,
So I would.
we're talking about the meetings being posted, though, our live.
Live meetings.
meetings.
Let's move to this
You can
into
watch it live, you
discussion
can
after
post it at
somebody
any
makes a
time.
motion.
I'll make a motion. I'm not sure what you want me to say, but I definitely want
If
to
you
use
wanted to,
YouTube.
if you wanted to move, to make a motion that we adopt YouTube for our online
I'd like to make
storage
that motion that
and
we use
change
YouTube.
our minute or bylaws to reflect.
And I would like to make a motion to change our bylaws to reflect
I'll second it.
that.
So for discussion on
For
our
discussion.
bylaws, do we have any limitations in terms of timeframes to amend our bylaws? Sometimes there's a 30-day or anything like that, so just wanted.
I
can't
don't
remember.
think so. I know that we're required to review and make any amendments at least once a year. But I don't know that there's a time frame that we have to have something out there before we amend it.
In your recommended change, though, I would put video recorded meetings, because we're not necessarily always going to be on Zoom.
I
So
agree
that
with
will
that.
give us the leeway to, if we decide to change to another platform, it's
Otherwise
just
it'll
our
force us
video
to-
recorded
Okay.
meetings.
Do you think this is ever gonna end?
Well, sometimes they're Teams, if you can't get Zoom to work, you pull it up on
Oh,
Teams instead.
Yeah, so we shouldn't specify.
No,
Yeah.
and I would suggest within 30 days following each meeting that they're uploaded to the
I
website.
think we stay on Zoom or whatever media, video thing regardless, even if we're back.
Yeah, I think it's a good platform.
Yeah.
to have out there.
It is.
I concur with the
I
30 days.
hate Zoom.
Well, Zoom
Oh,
does
you
allow for
use
people
it more
outside
than we
to
have.
comment if needed, where YouTube doesn't allow for
Well, no,
live
I'm
interaction.
like-
So
You
We use-
just,
we
you
use
just used the
Teams.
Teams.
We use Teams at work, so I'm just used to Teams and it's way more functional.
Lot easier.
any more discussion? All in favor?
I don't know why it takes 30 days to
More
upload it.
discussion.
That's a maximum.
Just a maximum,
Oh,
just to give us a
okay.
time frame in case.
Because that would be
This is
suspicious
within-
to me if it took 30 days.
Within 30 days.
Because I,
Within 30 days. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just,
if I
Could be
pick
the
it
next
up
day.
here, that's what I want.
But
I
somebody
want
could
it
be
to
on vacation for a couple weeks that does it.
Then
you know?
I'll do it.
The only thing that we had looked at is there's the possibility of needing to figure out how to cut and edit the very first part of the
Oh.
meeting and the last part,
Yeah,
as the video is running while maybe somebody is having a personal conversation.
I
next
think
to
it
the
has something
microphone.
to do with whether it's made for children or not. If it's made for children, you can't edit it. But if it isn't made for children, you can. You can edit the beginning and the end.
But
Okay,
then you have to have a
Um,
subscription.
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I would say no to the next day, just because sometimes if it's like a 3-hour meeting, it takes a long time to upload the video.
Zoom doesn't even provide the video recording until after 24 hours.
Oh, really? Okay, there's something I didn't know.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
I-
Any opposed? Carried. 7.5 parking spaces update.
yeah, 7.4.
7.4.
Oh, I did, my
Board
bad.
vacancy.
I crossed out record retention and moved on. Sorry, let's go back up to 7.4 board vacancy update.
That's really easy. This was regarding Jennifer's position, ensuring that it is posted for the remainder of her term instead of as a new position that was for probably 4 years.
Well, Andrew made it for a 2-year term, and I
Yes.
don't think that was, I think it's supposed to say for completion of the term. I don't think it's supposed to say 2 years, because then it's gonna roll forward every 2 years. Don't underestimate how stupid they are.
I'd second what she said.
I think it's 2 years. I think it is to the end of the term, but it's 2 years for the.
I think it
Yes.
should say till
He
the end of the
was
term.
very, very diligent to try to find the exact answer. He spoke
And that
with-
must be why he didn't get it done for 2 weeks.
Yeah, he
It
spoke
wasn't on the
to
webpage.
Secretary of State and, yeah,
Okay, well, okay.
all right, so that was just a very quick update.
While we're on board vacancies, I was reminded that I need to fill out my candidacy application and I need to know what number.
Oh, I believe
You're
you were
5.
number. Yes.
5.
Don't take anybody's word for it. Ask Andrew. Trust me.
I checked earlier.
You
to see
did,
what number
okay.
we were, yeah.
Well,
I
you
called-
knew
I called
you-
here, got my
you
number,
knew
so-
your-
Yeah.
I hope that was right, 'cause that's why I put it on my.
You were 7. yeah.
Yeah, it looked like you were in the right place.
Now we're on parking spaces?
Yes.
Okay, 7.5 parking spaces.
All right, so I did speak with City of Roseburg, the design and construction manager, city of, our Public Works Department. And they provided both the code regarding the ADA parking spaces, and they also provided an example of what that needs to look like if it's done in the middle of a block. And it was my understanding until I received a response from Matt that we were just discussing the 2 parking spaces in front of UVN. His response indicates possibly that there was more to it that I may have missed. But this does give the information. Bottom line, what he said is where sometimes in the past they may have overlooked the requirements of the code, they can no longer do that. They will no longer do that due to the fact that there's a liability. So the code says that if the parking space is not located at the corner of the block, which downtown, the way they've redone our downtown intersections, is next to an ADA accessible bulb out. Then if it is in the middle of the block, which the 2 parking spaces in question are the 2 center spaces, then the business who is requesting the ADA ramp because they'd have to build a ramp.
Uh-huh.
And the business is responsible for any upgrades or changes in front of their business because it is business specific. So that doesn't mean that they wouldn't put it, he said they could put it at the corner, like in front of United Way. But if UPDN wants to utilize the 2 parking spaces that they have previously had as ADA parking spaces, it will be up to them to work with the city of Roseburg and get the permits and find out what all of the requirements are. And they will have to, at their own expense, build an ADA accessible ramp that is adjacent to both of those parking spaces.
So
What
we
is-
hold no responsibility.
What is our ability to, I mean, if UVDN were to look into the cost of getting that bump out, whatever it's called, or making it ADA usable, because I think as one of our providers, I think it's important for us to cater to.
We bear
disabled
a portion of that.
What are our capabilities of being able to help?
Why?
Why do we bear a portion of
Yeah.
responsibility for that?
Yeah.
Because we care.
Well, we can care and we can support it, but where do you stop? So, I mean,
I don't want
I
to
mean,
stop
we're
yet.
talking about taxpayer dollars here, right? So
Right.
if a development or a business wants to do something, they're responsible for those upgrades and things like that. And it might be something that, benefits the public or does some of that, but, and so we could provide letters of support, but why would a taxpayer fund something that a business is required to do if that's what they want to do, which is optional?
I think we should support them financially. I think that it does better the community and it's a benefit to a population that may be underserved. Did you think your people are underserved?
Yeah, in
So-
many areas.
I mean, I do think
So
it's
I-
shocking that if they're the disability network.
Uh-huh.
So
they
I-
can't
I'm,
use it.
I'm agreeing with Kat on this, not in the same context, because I'm also agreeing with Mike on this. As you guys know, I hate spending taxpayer dollars, taxation and stuff. But the communities that we serve mostly are underprivileged and disabled. And UVDN is one of our providers that help make sure the district can serve those individuals. And I think we should do what we can to serve them safely. I'm not suggesting right now that we find funds and pay for it. I'm suggesting that we do some research to see if there are funds that could become available to help in the situation, even if it was, we were only able to put out 10% and Matt had to go fundraising for the other 90. Even if we put up 2%,
Mhm.
I'm just saying that we have a community that we serve, and we should look into at least seeing what our capabilities are of doing it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm asking. I'm not looking for anybody to make a
Okay, but-
motion to throw money at it.
But if we do that, then every community that has a business that serves underserved populations finds out that we, no offense, Matt, that we provide 10% match for a grant that he gets. And they come to us and say, oh, we want to put in, and we're looking at, there's a lot of communities.
Are they
in
a
Douglas
provider?
County.
Well, let's walk away.
Are they-
Let's even go further back than that. There's something
We're
called first
setting
mile, last
precedent.
mile to bus stops. And in between there are a lot of deficient, not only wheelchair ramps, but driveways or missing sidewalks. So are we gonna take some responsibility for that as well?
So I don't think that's a reasonable argument, because we're
Yeah.
talking about a provider. We're not talking about average Joes or average businesses. We're talking about people that have,
But they need it too, because it
Service.
has to connect and go
We
somewhere.
don't.
but are
what
they a
if-
provider?
what
Are you
if-
guys talking
And
about
it's for
providers?
riders that could be riding or, that can't make it to the bus stop.
Well,
as
maybe
well.
we will request funding to help assist with those kind of things.
Well, City of Roseburg did state that anybody that has a disabled placard that they hang in their window in their car can park in any
Any
parking
parking
space
space.
downtown.
Mhm.
So they can park in the spaces that are most accessible to the ramps. So they don't have to have a sign and a emblem painted on the pavement in order to be able to park at the appropriate ADA parking spaces. Basically, what they're saying is every corner in the downtown area is an ADA accessible parking space. And that is what, 2 parking spaces away from the front door of Matt's business. It's half a block
Oh, down in front of that park, Eagles
Right.
Park or whatever, there is one?
in United Way.
Well, nothing's actually marked out or assigned signage.
Yeah.
So,
That means regular people park in spots.
so let me back this train up a little bit. So 2008, downtown Roseburg was getting beautification done, getting these Montana boulders dropped on each corner and curb cuts put in, correct? They were also getting plumbing redone, cutting up the street.
Matt Drosser, UVDN.
Sorry, Matt Drosser. And Brown Construction was in was in charge. In the process, there was some negotiation about ADA signage and things like that. It was taken off the table and nothing happened. So come now forward almost 3 years, and there's still nothing that signifies where there's any handicap / disabled parking, depending on which vernacular you're using, but using disabled parking spots, having signage and striping, any of that to signify that those are parking spaces that could be used or preferred for accessibility.
So are you okay if if a symbol was placed on the road next to the curb ramp?
I think you need to comply with ADA and.
Well, it's
make
an
sure-
ADA, it's an ADA complying ADA and it's complying ADA ramp, so. So
So
it doesn't mean that you have to put a symbol next to it, but if, I
Can't you
mean,
just
would you
put
be okay with
cones?
putting a symbol if that's what they did?
Well,
Instead of having to build another ramp, I mean, those ramps are expensive.
right, ramps are expensive. Now, keep in mind, the association I belong to, along with Disability Rights Oregon,
Mhm.
went and filed suit against ODOT.
Mhm.
And as a result, they settled out,
Mhm.
and they're on a 15-year mitigation plan to to correct all curb cuts within the state of Oregon.
So those are included in the settlement?
No, the cities are not, because they were not considered state programs.
But it's also not a required location, I guess, in the middle in front of your business. It's
No.
not a required location for an ADA ramp, so they're not out of compliance. And the one that they build on the corner is in compliance.
So.
So
my
I'm
whole
just
point-
asking, is a symbol next to that one, so then you don't have to either maybe take away a spot so that you can build a ramp in between and have to fork out a lot more money when it'd be simple, just to put it maybe a symbol.
Well,
or
I'm
something.
not looking to,
I'm just trying to understand what it is you're actually after.
so I'm not looking to get the parking spaces in front of my offices redone. I want disabled parking established throughout downtown. That's a bigger thing for the city of Roseburg to chew on, because for that to happen, they also have to have the sidewalks accessible. And the sidewalks are abysmal in certain areas because they've taken trees, planted trees, taken trees back out, unsettled the ground, things have settled down, it's hazardous.
Mhm.
So if they're gonna do the curb cuts, they should do the sidewalk too. And I made a point a couple of years ago, went to a city meeting. This is where I had Ms. Messenger shaking a finger at me and saying, we'll see, we'll see. Well, sure enough, next week, after the meeting, they have somebody come out and go, yeah, that belongs to the city. And it was basically a water box, and it was fit in properly with concrete that was mixed poorly and set poorly. And then it chipped away, and it was a tripping hazard right in front of a disabled parking space. And I was trying to make the point, you got a possible liability situation here, possible lawsuit as soon as somebody trips, because that's city work that got done. So. they admitted
You
that-
said they didn't do the sidewalk, so I'm just saying,
Right.
I know there's a city code that says that the sidewalks in front of and it's pretty common in front of with all cities, is that the sidewalk is the responsibility of the property owner once it's installed. So you're responsible for its maintenance and upkeep and fixing it or repairing it or replacing it. In fact, the city of Roseburg actually budgets some money for, I think, the concrete stuff, and then you just have to pay the labor. So I think they actually usually have that something like 50 grand or 100 grand or something like that every year. That's budgeted for sidewalk replacement. People want or need to replace their
I
sidewalk.
managed to argue the point that what was done was poorly done. They agreed and they came out and they redid it. We didn't have to pay a dime.
Well, certainly the water box, yeah, but I'm talking the sidewalk, and which is what you were saying about the bumps and all of that. That is the responsibility of property
Okay,
owners.
but if the whole downtown has issues with the sidewalk,
And it should be the responsibility of each property owner down there. So that's where I kind of get the Roseburg Business Association or Downtown Association, whatever they call themselves now. Because that's gonna involve a lot of businesses.
well,
Could potentially involve the
just
city.
me personally, I think there's a responsibility to the city of Roseburg to be compliant and ensure that compliance is happening, not just on Edenbauer or not just on Stevens, but
I can see it on my
downtown
street.
Roseburg. It should be throughout. Yet it seems funny that they have these certain circumstances and responsibilities placed on shop owners in the downtown area, and I don't hear that in other areas. So
You mean in other cities? No, just other areas, not downtown.
It's enforcement anywhere, really, but it's usually a complaint driven process.
right, well, so my whole issue is that I think the city of Roseburg needs to have some accountability for their own ADA aspects.
So getting back to the ADA, so they're saying the end parking lots or the end parking space next to the wheelchair ramps are ADA. They're not marked. If they were marked, is that sufficient?
Doesn't that mean that
Then you don't
anybody
have to
can
build
park?
something.
Anybody can park
Any
there,
ADA, any ADA parking spot, even if they built one in the middle, anybody could park there. It's a
Yeah.
public spot.
because it's not dedicated like at the
It can't be.
grocery store.
Exactly. It can't be dedicated to his business because he doesn't have a separate parking lot. It's on street
Well,
parking.
it's
Open to the public,
It's
whatever. it
been
is.
kind of grandfathered in since, I'm assuming since our Douglas County was there. They have two signs for the two spaces and they've been there and
Oh, you mean you have the ADA signs? up
they
there?
have ADA signs and they have citation,
Huh,
noting the code and
That's actually the main thing that's required, not the payment address.
so.
And it's, and I think the agency that regulates that is a consumer and business affairs or something.
Although
Some weird,
for people
something
with
like that.
disabilities, looking up high for a sign, which is actually pretty small,
Mhm.
not a big font, is not very ADA friendly.
no,
So that's why bright colors, that's why the curb cuts are perforated and why they have a bright yellow
Mhm.
color to them. It's not because somebody really liked yellow at ODOT, it's because it's for safety and it's bright.
well, there's lots of different colors you can actually use, but yeah.
But
so should we table this until the next time?
Well, there's nothing really to the table. It's just a continuing.
It's just a continuing
conversation.
conversation,
So
no action,
no action.
moving right along.
Thank you for the update. Electric buses update, 7.6.
Okay, so we do have what's called a low-no grant that is available right now. I am working with a provider that works on our state price agreement that can do the smaller buses. But the challenge is that we don't have a timeline for our property next door. So until we know that the either the discretionary grant is going to go through that will fund getting that started. It's kind of hard to order an electric bus or several electric buses and the infrastructure, because that's part of the grant. We can add the infrastructure to it. But if we haven't been able to start the project next door, then we have no place to put the infrastructure. So
What's the holdup on starting on, I guess that's the next one, property update.
yeah, so it's just that we don't have the final on whether or not we received I
The
believe,
no-tip loan?
oh, no, it's not that. It's the discretionary stiff. So I submitted the discretionary STIF project for the whole of the our property. Because last time they had, I don't remember what the total number was, but there were less projects than the amount of money, which like never happens. So I guess everybody remembered that, and this time around, we had twice as many projects submitted as the amount of money available. So if we get funded for a portion of this, it will probably be a phase. So I split it into 3 phases, but we won't know that until next month. So the recommendation comes from PTAC next month.
Are we running out of time in any way on the electric bus applications or?
I have to have that one in by not next Friday, but the Friday after. So we're gonna go ahead and submit and just pray that it actually goes through.
Yeah, many things are ringing a prayer.
Mhm.
And if we get funded, can we phase part of the project if we get funded less?
Yes, so I put it into 3 phases, and there's enough STIF funding in our plan for this next 2 years to be the match money for the discretionary portion of it. If we only get funded for the first phase, then we can continue to apply for other grants as well, or we can go to the infrastructure.
What is the first phase? Is that paving and
It
just no
is.
vertical construction?
It is the excavation, so the rock work to make it, a usable level, and running the utilities to the property, putting in the drainage, all of those sorts of things. There's a project management piece of it that we would have to pay upfront,
Mhm.
as well as I knew I should have put it. Oh, it's right here. Phase
Yes.
1.
Phase 1, phase 2, and you remembered almost
I
everything
knew I should
in
have put
there.
it on here and what? Okay, so phase 1 is the project contingency, engineering survey, construction management, permits, SDCs and fees, demolition, grading, earthwork, drainage, and utilities. And the utilities include running electrical that is appropriate to accommodate future electric buses. And then phase 2 is the retaining wall, sound wall, perimeter fencing, landscaping, which is required as part of the project, concrete sidewalks, ADA ramps, paving, striping, and signage. So I suspect if we get funded, we will get funded for phase 1. I would be surprised to get funded for more than one, knowing the number of projects that were submitted. And then we just go from there. If we get phase 1, then adding the electrical bus infrastructure in there is going to be easy, because we're going to run the electric so that it'll accommodate that.
So it looks like we could build a cave and have everything down in the back cave and just modular it in and out.
Is there a time? So if we if we do phase 1 and complete it, is there a time the city will hold us to at least get it paved, or, to do some of the landscape to finish up the development of the property? Not necessarily phase 3, but the phase 2 that meet all the development requirements, because it sounds like we're not going to meet it in phase 1 yet. We'll have disturbed some of the ground, there's runoff, there's, all that kind of stuff. And so, and it becomes a little more unsightly. So that's kind of why there's landscaping requirements.
That is phase 2, is like the ramps, paving, striping, signage, landscaping.
Right, I'm just wondering if there's a time frame in which,
Yeah.
the
When do we
permit
have
is
to-
going, we can defer the rest of the improvements that are required by the city
Typically,
for 10 years or for.
that's not that long. Typically, it's like 6 months with an ability to extend for an additional 6 months.
And it's only like $9 each time you extend it.
How many times can you extend?
I don't want to say.
Imagine yours is
Is
similar.
Stuart,
Yeah, that's
Stuart in
what we
charge
do,
of-
6 months
Yeah.
with an ability to
yeah,
extend 6 months.
somebody should talk to Stuart and coordinate, maybe get a
Most
timeline.
permits, it's a year you have to complete, so you have the 6 months and an additional 6
Yeah.
months. So
So we just want, it's a lesser amount, so it's easier to do, but I just want to make sure that we're thinking about that and. can get
Making sure that we have
Yeah.
everything in
Yeah.
order.
And just so you know, the letter of support that went into PTAC from the SWAC indicated they were in full support of the full project. However, if they would at least fund phase one, that would be favorable.
That would be optimal.
That was the
Yes.
letter that was
Where did
written.
you get that information?
Where did I get that information? I'm the
she's-
SWAT coordinator for her, so there's inside information, and I wrote the letter. So.
Yes.
So that took us right through property update, yes?
Right?
Yes.
where are we on the, where are we on the infrastructure bank loan and all of that?
So I didn't go ahead and complete it simply because I don't know how much to ask for, because I don't know if we're gonna get funded for this.
So we would complete it and we potentially then could just simply ask for phase two, the 400,000
Exactly.
as part of that. Okay.
We could potentially ask for phase 2 and 3, but I suspect that by the time we complete phase 1 and 2, and we're prepared to do the building, there will be another grant opportunity.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm thinking.
Do you know if-
I'm pretty sure these applications are being submitted to the OTC at Thursday's meeting, correct?
no, PTAC hasn't reviewed yet.
Yes. they have.
They're going to PTAC on, in next month, in April, and then they're going to OTC in May.
Jennifer with ODOT,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah, because phase one really doesn't get you anything. I
Did,
mean,
uh,
it set some stuff, but there's no usable, nothing, there's nothing that's usable at the time until you can park some buses over there or, you
Well, it
know,
gives us the parking.
what's just
But
great.
we can park on it
Parking
once
on rock,
it's,
you mean?
Did
Oh,
the
yeah,
infrastructure
the
bank
paving.
get refunded? Because like last year when we were looking at things, they only had like 1.5
I
million.
mean, it does a lot, but it's not the usable stuff.
That you would
I don't
use,
know, it's
yeah,
an
yeah,
ongoing
yeah,
conversation.
It's
because they have
ready,
money that
it makes
comes
it
and
ready,
goes.
makes it easier
Yeah.
to be
I just
used,
know
but
at that
it's not
point they
usable
didn't
yet.
know if I know. Where are we at? 7.8 RFP update, intent to award to the following agencies.
Yeah, so we did the RFP for the data ride services. This, the top page here, it lists each one of the providers that returned an RFP, with the exception of Umpqua Homes. Umpqua Homes Incorporated, of course, I forwarded you the information regarding their change. And it's my understanding that they were going to talk with their employees about those changes today. So they are not included on this. And I listed them in order of how they met the requirements of, or the requested requirements of the RFP. So Hyper Transport, which is a new company that previously has provided medical transportation. They are familiar with the transit system, and they went through and their days of service are all 6 days of service that we requested. Hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they're willing to go anywhere that we send them within the district. And they're willing to expand if we have that option available for them. Mercy Express, they meet all of the designated days and almost all of the designated hours. And they are willing to cover the entire I-5 corridor. Actually, they're willing to go as far as Cottage Grove or to Grants Pass. And they had previously submitted for an expansion out to Glide as well. The challenge is with the limited number of vehicles they're already in South County when somebody needs to go to Glide. So as we expand the number of vehicles, then we'll be able to meet some of these requests. Better than the
I'm
ones we do
seeing
now.
a lot of clients out of Glide.
Yeah.
So they're coming every day to the cancer center.
I know we have a whole bunch of vans coming. Do we think that's going to be sufficient for these hours and days?
It will definitely be an improvement. And we'll see.
But will it actually cover? Yeah, I know it'll be better because we'll have more vehicles, but
Yeah.
some of our vehicles are also really, really old. And, you know, probably should be retired already.
Yes, some of them once we're able to replace them with the newer vehicles, there are some new vehicles that are replacement and some that are expansion. Anyway, when we get all of those in service, then we'll be able to take a look at the older vehicles and look at maybe doing refurbishing on them. And then we could, as the district, have them available.
To
as
swap out if
loaners.
something happens, yeah, okay.
Yes, so that they actually indeed have a loaner if they need to go get their transmission replaced
Yeah.
or something like that.
Or even just to get something, a lift repaired or something,
Yes.
like got something that could.
Exactly. Or if they, they die in the middle of the intersection and have to get towed, in the middle of the day, then we could, instead of taking all of their rides and trying to disseminate them to other providers, then we can get them another vehicle and they can continue on while the vehicle gets taken care of. Yes. You're not the
We
only one
wouldn't
that
have
happens
known,
to.
Ken, we wouldn't have known.
It's always
unmute
Kenny.
Natasha? She's got her hand up. Oh, that's not her hand up. Oh. What's that?
The hand is the
No.
mouse cursor.
Oh.
Ah.
I did reach out to Natasha just from that email, just to get some feedback from her, and if she wanted to share, she can, with the nod of the head or not. Yeah, okay.
No, I just knew. John and I talked a few hours ago, so it's fresh on my brain. So Cheryl and I did talk, and the primary reason for the decision was the board's need for the project to be a cost neutral project. And I'm on the stiff stack committee, so I saw what the budget was, and the budget is what the budget is, and it didn't feel, for lack of a better word, fair to come to the board and say, can I have some of Mercy's money or UVDN's money in order to make this a cost neutral project? So that is the primary reason that we chose not to go forward. Having said that, my drivers are pretty frustrated right now. They don't feel very supported and they don't feel appreciated. And so we just had a conversation today, and they actually kind of assumed that it was due to some of the reasons that they had reached out to Kelly and myself recently. They thought that that's what we were meeting about. And instead we were meeting to discuss the fact that we're not moving forward as of June 30th. But their main issues is that since there's been a change in the dispatch, they don't try calling the driver's line anymore. They just call the rider's line, because the driver's line isn't as thoroughly watched. And so it's all, for lack of a better word, little things, but it's a bunch of little things. And so I would strongly encourage this group, not necessarily the board, but just that we have a sit down conversation with everybody and get on the same page, because I think most of it is little stuff that could be resolved if we were moving forward. That's what I would have requested, is a meeting with Cheryl and Kelly and myself and the dispatch team and maybe some of the drivers, to really all get on the same page, because we experienced the exact same thing at UHI, that if we don't sit down and talk about it, it turns into a mountain when really it's a tiny little molehill. And maybe it's the way in which I spoke to you, which I just got off the phone with my brother telling me that dad fell again, but you don't know that. And so instead it sounds like I'm super mean to you, and so, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that there's just some personality. I don't know if it's necessarily even personality conflicts, but there's a lot of little things that it's turning into a big thing. But like I said, our main reason, our 99% reason, was that it was not a cost neutral project for us. But I would strongly encourage some communication, team building, because I think the team's fallen down. But that's my 2 cents.
So this was a financial decision?
Yes, it is. For UHI, it is a financial decision.
Okay.
This is a I've said this 100 times to you guys. You hear me say all the time that it is a mission adjacent. And mission adjacent is not something that we lose money on. We lose money on two of our 15 projects currently. This would be 3 of 16. And those 2 are 100% mission-based. And so the board can justify losing money on a mission-based project. The board is not willing to justify losing money on DAR, and historically we just always have. And so I was tasked this year with determining exactly how much the DAR project cost us. That is what we wrote our grant for. And so if we can't use that exact number, it's just, it is what it is. And when I discussed the idea of the grant to expand services, they were not encouraged to expand services if we were already losing money on our existing services, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay.
Natasha?
Yeah.
How many drivers are affected?
3. And they're fantastic. We love our team. I mean, everybody has highs and lows and, you know, all of that, but Kelly can almost not manage the group. You know, she's got little side notes, and they're fantastic. So I would strongly encourage anybody who needs drivers to pick them up. We are offering them employment in-house if they are not picked up elsewhere. But I know that a few of them would like to encourage and continue to be drivers. So, Kelly, did I miss anything? I don't think so.
Thank you. If we can.
You got it.
If we can screenshot that, Mike looks like a brown-haired Trump. Okay, sorry.
Okay, now,
So does Hyper Transport has their own vehicles right now, and we would just be providing expansion vehicles for them when we get them? Is that how that's gonna work? If we were to choose them? So-
Well, and it looks like what we would end up doing is rolling that UHI vehicle over to.
So is there no, and so this would just be a one takes all? We can't split it up between on the RFP? We can't
Oh, yeah.
hire multiple companies to do it since they have.
Yes, we're looking to put all of those on there.
Oh, okay.
Yes, a combination of all of them.
Use all of them
Yes,
if we can.
and yes, and those are the hours and days that each are available.
Are we making sure that that Hyper Transport's vehicles, they're bringing them over, meet the specifications or needs or requirements for transit, public transit?
Yes,
And
we
we've
would.
done like a business review on them to make sure they're actually,
Legitimate?
yes,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I've never heard of them before.
yeah,
so
who
I'm
did
like,
they
that's
medical
kinda-
transport for? They dropped out of the sky. I never heard of them.
Me neither.
So they've actually been doing medical transport here in Douglas County for about 3 years.
Really?
So-
Under a different name?
No. So.
Kind of like Dallas for landscape truck.
Oh, this is an actionable item.
So as you can see, there's just all of the information about what days of the week each provider is available. And of course, North Douglas Betterment is expanding to cover Sutherland, so that's new. And it'll be a huge gap that she's filling there.
So this is for starting in July. Are we anticipating that
Yes.
we would roll all of this out at one time in July, or do we anticipate it would take some time to phase it in? Yeah.
Actually, all of these providers are already providing service, and we should have all of the expansion vehicles before July. So the way that this is written here is the way that service is currently being provided, except for the changes to NDB and adding Hyper Transport. There were City of Reedsport, City of Winston, and UVDN are all remaining the same. Mercy Express will remain the same until they receive an expansion vehicle. And then they'll be adding the expanded service. So It's really very similar to what we've already got. The difference being we're losing UHI and Sunrise. They're
Well, Sunrise is dropping off.
Sunrise was doing, I believe it was 2 or 3 days a week, and they were doing the Green and Winston area in the afternoon. And so that, yeah, they let us know a couple months ago that.
So
they were
now
not gonna-
Hyper Transport is gonna cover that?
I'm gonna have conversations with each one of the providers to confirm what their service areas will be. And so they'll have the opportunity to say, well, of course we would go to Green. We do Roseburg, of course we go to Green. But I can't say who's gonna do what until I've actually had those conversations. And you just put it out there that it's even an option, so.
I have a question. For NDB, it says not recommended. This would be a duplication of service. Is that the Sutherland to Roseburg run? So what service is that duplicating, I guess?
Yeah. I'm
We don't know it
confused,
yet.
especially if Hyper Transport is going everywhere.
Well, we have bus service that goes Winston to Sutherland. And then we are also, the bus service is expanding so that it will be hourly service. So that trip to Roseburg will be hourly 11 times a day before this ever goes into place. And then because it's hourly, we're also required to provide paratransit services.
So paratransit is doing the service.
They wouldn't be going from
Just to the-
Sutherland
to the fixed
Winston.
route service.
They would be for paratransit qualified clients only.
But would they just take them like the demand response to the fixed route?
Okay,
So
hold on
they're
just
not
one second, I'm sorry. We're moving into a discussion period for an actionable item, so we can continue the discussion with more information. If there were a
I
motion,
have one more question before we make the motion. Are these the only providers that provided our responses to our RFP?
Yes,
Okay.
the only one that is not included is UHI, and that's because they withdrew. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to award an RFP to the agencies with discussion.
always discussion.
Thank you.
Cat makes a motion to approve the RFP.
Second.
And discussion.
I don't have it anymore. I'm done. Sorry.
When,
I finished.
when
Do
we
you feel
receive,
like-
when we receive all the new vans, they'll have the new wrap on it. Are we gonna rewrap the other vans then at the same time?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
The provider that we will most likely end up getting the vehicles from, because it is still an unknown as to which one it will be, but they do wraps. They'll envision the wrap and do it, and your vehicle will get here and have the wrap on it already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without
so-
approval or anything?
Oh, yeah, I would do the approval
Okay.
prior to. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
They envision it and it.
They just wrap it up.
Yeah.
My wife is
You're really gonna like this.
What I talked to him about is the discussion that we had when we talked about Umpqua rides, about the pictures that show Douglas County, the rivers, the trees, those kinds of things, the vineyards. And so we're not locked into just one particular
Design.
type of wrap.
Okay.
And then they'll work the logo into it as well. So
That's pretty cool if we can especially do it, geared more
Like
toward
the ambulance.
North Douglas County or
Yeah.
Reedsport, the ocean or the, something that goes up toward
Falls,
Glide,
yeah.
the mountains or, and,
Mhm.
going down into, Seven Feathers or, something down
It's a
that
great sense
direction
of
would be really
community,
cool.
too.
Yeah, especially if they can recognize it.
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Well, and it's
Agreed.
good, especially for like our folks with disabilities to be able to recognize vehicles. Right now, all the vehicles look the same.
Yes.
And so
Oh, some of
we
them.
actually
look
had an
worse
incident
than
with a
others.
rider recently and they look exactly the same. So things happen. Yeah. But this would just be a little.
Oh,
bit
no,
more
there's one out there
distinctive
that looks really scary.
for 'em. It's probably ours.
It does, it's out in Green to Roseburg because I follow it and the drive
Probably ours.
beside it through town. And it is horrible. It's horrible. My daughter commented on it and my cousin commented on it.
If you shoot me the number of the vehicle,
Are you gonna shoot it?
no. If you give me the number, then we can take a look at
That we
Whatever it
just
is.
wanted around.
Okay, okay,
Or replace.
because it's that. So
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor on awarding the RFP to the Valred? Say aye.
I,
Any opposed?
Abstention.
Okay, 6 ayes, 1 abstention. Jennifer.
for training,
Board training, Ron doesn't have any, he said it was just put on there, just in
I mean, I
case.
prepared like 3 hours, but.
we don't have 3 hours left.
Managers report.
So if you want to do like we've previously done,
Just the
take any that
highlights,
you have any questions. The one that is not on here that I just want to put out there because it happened in March, it just happened day before yesterday, is we did get Saturday service started. So that was pretty exciting. We got some immediate feedback on that. The areas that are not Roseburg are just waiting with bated breath for it to become them. The first question I got was from Green, and people are looking to be able to use it to get to work, to Mercy, McDonald's, various different places. So that was also some additional feedback is, can we start it earlier? So we had started at 8:15 on Saturday and ran till 6:30 in the evening. And they would like it to start at least an hour earlier so that they can use it to get to work.
So shift
What?
starts at Mercy at 7, so you need to be there at 6:45.
What happened with you translating a dog?
Oh, they did.
Actually, so we didn't.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah.
That's
So part of the challenge in following up on that was that it was a new vehicle that had passed that way. And the video recorder, we actually had to take the hard drive out of the shell in order to be able to get it to fit into the reader to be able to watch the video. So we have forward facing video, and we have on the outside, on the passenger side of the vehicle, we have rear facing video. We also have video on the inside that is rear facing out the back emergency door. And we watched each one of the views as a whole at first, and then each one separately. The whole length of the Pine Street where the incident happened, and there was no, we didn't see a child, we didn't see an adult, we didn't see a dog in either the forward facing or rear facing. My only fear was it is a new bus that has what they call liquid spring suspension, which is super good. So my fear was that they had run over it and not even felt it.
Didn't know.
Yeah, but no, we didn't find any indication that there was.
Because witnesses said it was a blue bus and it was on the route and it was one of ours.
So that's a ton of cameras, which I think is great. Is that on every bus that we have?
Or just the newest.
That's
It's
great.
on all of the blue ones have that many cameras.
That gives such a sense of security.
It is, and it exonerates the drivers
Yeah.
9 times out of 10.
Are they in the dial ride vans?
Not yet, but they'll be in the new ones. Yeah, so that'd be awesome.
On your Saturday service, when somebody sent me the KRNR or whatever radio thing, was the first that I had heard of it. I hadn't even seen the buses on Saturday. And I think you did a pretty smashing job in that.
Thank you. We were excited. We didn't put it out until we knew for sure we had all the drivers in place, and we didn't want to wait any longer.
Are we continuing to
I was gonna
advertise?
say, are we pushing advertising for that right now?
Yeah, we actually have interviews for drivers scheduled tomorrow, Tuesday.
We should
Yeah.
make a sign for our buses that say the Saturday something now.
So I actually requested some work like that to be done, but they must be kind of backed up because there are a number of things we had requested. So yeah, we'll check on that too. Oh, were there any other questions on the general manager's report?
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's been busy. to say the least.
Number 9, Mrs. Boardman. Hold up.
Is she gone?
No, she's
Oh, there she is.
I'm actually a Ms. Boardman, but
Forgot to ask you, did you
Sorry.
know that for sure before you said that, John?
He's just an old fashioned guy.
I was a Mrs. Fletcher, but I got rid of that guy, so I'm Ms. Boardman.
John is really pink right now.
I don't think I am, but okay. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay. Let's see, we finished up all the rounds of grants. We did have a PTAC meeting last week, and there are additional funds that are going to be coming to the providers. There were funds that came to us through Carissa, and then some that were left over from different pots, and they're putting it together and sending it out. And they will be attached, if they're formula funds, they'll be attached to the grant agreements that we're going to be writing that'll start on July 1. I believe that Douglas County gets about $450,000 additional in 5311 funds. And so those will be coming July. And then there'll be opportunity to do additional CARES grant funding if you need additional money for COVID related expenses. And that will be coming sometime in the fall, I believe, is what I heard last. The grant agreements are going to be going to PTAC, as I said, next month, the first Monday, I believe it is, of the month. And then they'll be going to OTC the middle of May. And then the agreements will be finalized the end of May and be put in place July 1. So all those funding streams will be coming your way. What else? Cheryl and I had a good meeting last week to talk about some of the reporting stuff, and got some questions answered that she had. So we got that taken care of. And I think that's about it for ODOT. We're still plugging ahead on our reorganization in our department, trying to do some integration with active transportation. And so hopefully we'll get some good things going as far as first and last mile with the active transportation folks. And that's about it.
Hey Jennifer, on the COVID related expenses, because our dial-a-ride vans, for example, are limited in terms of the number of passengers that they can carry due to their size, and we have to make additional trips. Are those additional trips or additional expenses to the agency? Are those reimbursable at all under COVID?
Yeah, they could be. And several agencies with the CARES Need Act actually applied for chaser vehicles. So they would fill up their vehicles because they're limited on the space that they have due to COVID and the restrictions there. So they actually purchased additional vehicles. We probably, I think we granted, it was like 12 vehicles to different agencies across the state to do chaser type projects. And those, yes, those expenses would be.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything for Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer.
Yep.
For not on agenda, I did take the time. We are, according to the email I got from Christine, we are coming up on Cheryl's contract, which is April. Supposedly before, it is the 1st. Okay, so it is before our next meeting. I did invite our applicants that submitted resumes to attend in case anybody had questions that they would want to ask them. We are not necessarily looking to replace Cheryl. We are just wanting to make sure that we have the best candidates available to us going forward, whether that's keeping Cheryl or replacing her as general manager. At this time, we're going to move into an executive session. So for the individuals that are on Zoom, thank you. Do we have a way to keep them on but block them out until we're done with the executive? Or do I need to ask them to come back in 10 to 15 minutes? Because we got Mark on there and we need to keep
Christine
Mark.
Question. She's the tech sound.
That's what I'm looking at.
Try to restart the meeting. I wasn't informed to schedule another for them to come back. I can try to restart the meeting.
A lot of times you can hit rejoin, you can hit that and
You don't
it'll bring
close
it
it?
back.
Can't we mute everybody and just have Mark call in?
Yeah, just have Mark call in.
But
That's
if
what
we
I
mute,
did
if
the
we
last
mute
time.
them, that's us not hearing, can we make it to where they can't hear us?
Nope.
During, okay, so everybody, I apologize for this bit of confusion, but we do have to cut away for an executive session. I do want to invite you guys back after executive session, just in case anybody has questions for you regarding your resume or any other type of questions. I see two people nodding their heads. I'm guessing that got.
You want us coming back on in 15?
Yeah, I think 15 will be good. It is right now for us 6:40. And so come back about 7:05.
Got it.
Thank you so much. Mark, please stay.
Oh, you can stay, because that's what I did last month. Last time.
You stay.
Mark,
Not
can you
last
hear
month,
us?
month before.
Oh,
Yeah, I can hear if you can hear me.
I can.
Yes.
No,
I got through the last meeting before I discovered I was on mute the whole damn time, which is a good place to be.
Okay. So we are going to close for an executive session in accordance with ORS
We
19.
can't yet.
We still have two on.
Just making the announcement. ORS 192.660 2 and I to evaluate the employee related performance of chief executive officers, any public office or body, public officer, employee or staff member who does not request open hearing. So at this time, all non-board members with the exception of our attorney.
Okay, that's what I asked, if you want me in there for that or.
Yes.
Step away in the Zoom meeting and it's not the video.
I was like, who's that guy in the right?
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure out who you were up there at all.
I didn't even recognize that was me.
Well, I was gonna say, you don't want to record this. So
Oh, we're not recording it.
it is,
But if
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Zoom,
one of those other guys.
yeah.
You can hit the pause button.
yeah, hit the pause
I
button.
thought he was saying the truth, and I'm like, where? I don't see me.
No, that's the stop.
Yeah, it's just stop recording.
But there's a